Hi everyone, I'm just overjoyed to show you what the American Psychological Association has just released. It is a health advisory on social media use for teens, and I just cannot emphasize the importance of this document. So let's get right into it. This document has been created along with inputs from a lot of officials and policymakers, including the Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy. Dr. Vivek Murthy recently released a manifesto on how to deal with loneliness. And it is a great manifesto for those of us who are thinking about how to deal with the chronic loneliness that most of us are suffering with. So here, there are a few disclaimers before they get into the outline of what they want us to think about when we are handing over the phones and devices to our children. So right off the bat, what they say is social media is not inherently beneficial or harmful to young people. So every single comment that they make, every single point that they make here has citations, has proof backing up. So please go through this document in detail to find out more information. In other words, the effects of social media likely depend on what teens can do and see online, teens' pre-existing strengths and vulnerabilities, and the context in which they grow up. Basically, the point is, just because you come across a post on the internet does not make it beneficial or harmful to you. The idea is the level of autonomy that our children have, the pre-existing conditions in their own life, how they feel about their self-worth, and the circumstances in which they are growing up in their homes, in their immediate surroundings also matters. So that is the context in which we have to understand if it is beneficial or harmful to the specific child that we are talking about. So context matters. The second thing that they talk about is adolescent experiences online are affected by two things: how they shape their own social media experiences. So who are they liking? Who are they following? Who are they trying to emulate? And the second most important thing, which is not under their control or our control, is the visible and unknown features of social media platforms. So they get into a little bit of depth as they talk about the guidelines as we go down here. But the two factors that are shaping the whole experience of social media use for teenagers has been outlined here. So as researchers have found with the internet more broadly, racism, often reflecting perspectives of those building the technology, is built into social media platforms. After all, it is human beings who are creating these platforms, and humans have, we have our likes and our preferences and our dislikes and our biases. So what they are saying is all these platforms that are being built have been built by people who have their own preconceived notions, and it is extremely important for us to remember that. The resulting potential impact is far-reaching, including physical violence offline as well as threats to personal well-being. So these are the few important points before they get into the recommendations. So I will briefly go over the recommendations, and I will give you the link below, because it is very important for us to understand how we, and in turn our future generations, our teenagers, are getting affected, because without the digital literacy that is needed for them to understand the biggest, most scalable tool in their own hands, they will not be able to thrive. So the recommendation 1 is youth using social media should be encouraged to use functions that create opportunities for social support, online companionship, and emotional intimacy that can promote healthy socialization. So even if you don't tell your child anything before you give them a phone, I request you to please ask them any interaction that they are engaging in. Is it nourishing them in a positive way? Because if it is not satisfying the social support, the online companionship, and the emotional intimacy that fosters a positive growth in the child, that relationship is not worth pursuing. So if you can please explain to your child that that is a critical thing before they use social media and engage with strangers or friends online, these are the things that will qualify as a positive nurturing relationship. So the second point is this content should be tailored to youth's developmental capabilities, and because these things are often, they don't have a guideline for age appropriate use. So it is very important to understand that all the features that are being now displayed and being able to be used by 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and even adults, they're not necessarily being tailored to your age appropriate experience. So it is up to us parents to monitor, which gets into the third most important recommendation of them. Even for us adults, we don't necessarily understand the full scope of what we have in our hands as far as social media is concerned. So it is important before you hand over a social media account or a phone to your child, frequent monitoring and reviewing and discussing and coaching around the social media content that is available. Even with porn, it is so important. They are saying that right now the consumption of porn is the first instance when your child will come across porn is probably when they are in their single digits of age. So it is very scary, and porn is mostly fiction. That is what we have to help them understand. Not everybody who looks like that engages in those kind of activities on a regular basis in normal civil society. So that is the most important thing, adult monitoring. So here they are requesting the social media platforms that technology should not be driving this content and feeding this content, especially which results in illegal or maladaptive behavior, including any health risk behaviors like cutting, promoting suicide, harming others, any kind of food related disorders like restrictive eating, purging, excessive exercise, and all these should be reported and removed immediately. That is the onus on the social media platforms. Of course, the onus on us, parents and caregivers and guides, are that we have to monitor frequently and encourage our children to consume content intentionally, and only that is positively nurturing. So the fifth thing is adolescents' exposure to cyber hate. This is the most important thing. There is so much polarizing content on the internet. You either have to belong to the extreme left or the extreme right. There is no scope for any kind of moderate talk at all. So there are some marginalized groups that you might be hurting on either sides if you belong to one group or the other. So it is it is important that these discussions start from home, because on the internet, when strangers interact, especially such divisive environments like Twitter and sometimes Reddit, it can get pretty confusing for a teenager. So the sixth point is routinely screen for problematic social media use, and this can impair their ability to engage in daily roles and routines. So how do you identify what is a problematic social media use? And they have given us clear pointers. You can also help your child understand that excessive effort to ensure that you're always tethered to your social media account is a problem. And then, of course, again, that is also if it is interfering in your sleep and your physical activity, in how you are engaging in school, if you are distracted enough to, you're not able to focus on what is important and are just, whiling away time on the internet, then that is a sign of a problematic use. The next one of the most important topics, especially for teenage girls, is the social comparison, particularly around beauty and appearance related content. I just cannot tell you the layers of makeup that people put on to just look pretty for a couple of minutes on the internet. Please, this is leading to poor body image and eating disorders. It is very, very dangerous. It is very important that we interfere with our children, especially when they feel like their body is not up to the beauty standards of what society thinks is beautiful. This is so critical. Last but not the least, again, maximize the chances for a balanced, safe and meaningful social media use. You know, we all know rabbit holes of the internet. You click on something on Instagram and 2 hours later you don't even remember 1% of what you have consumed. So understanding, you know, what is fake news, what is misinformation, what are all these deep fakes that are being generated by AI, what is all this divisive news that is being shown around. It is very critical that we build and nourish healthy online relationships. So of course, they say that substantial resources should be provided for continued scientific examination of positive and negative effects of social media on adolescent development. And this is for all these lobbies that are working against us, the big tech media, which does not want us to understand, fully comprehend what is happening with our mental health and our social media use. The lines are so blurry. The correlation is not causation. That is what these companies want us to believe in. But it is time, and this is such a great time that APA, American Psychological Association, has come up with this, with these sets of guidelines for us to understand. The onus is on the caregivers. It is on the adults who are supervising the children, and this is for our better future. So thank you so much. Good luck.